Hey everybody, welcome to episode 75 of the All JuveCast with another special pop-up edition with my man Eric here. Eric, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Trying to get through these holidays and trying to cope with not having to watch our boys play. So
Yeah, it's
just
been
hanging in there.
brutal wait, brutal wait. Hope the holidays treated you well. As for all our listeners, yeah, we went into it kind of rough with that Super Copa loss, and you and I haven't really talked about that, but we'll get into that as well as a few other topics surrounding Juve. Real quick, on December 25th, Maurizio from around Turin put out his second edition of awards, and I wanted to congratulate everyone who's been a part of All JuveCast. We ended up tying Farhad and Juve podcast for best podcast, and that's huge. So thanks, because this podcast is really nothing without all of you. Eric, you've been on here a number of times, so it's been awesome. There's a lot of guys, Luke, Rocco, Daniel, Lonegro, like just a ton of you. And honestly, everyone that's reached out, Graham, Roman from IUV Therapy, like anyone that's, put forth opinions and everything, I appreciate it. The award's really for everybody, all you guys. So congrats to everyone. It's been a blast. Let's try and take it without tying Farhad next season.
Yeah, to be honest with you, probably would have taken the sole number one spot had I not been on here so many times. So it's number one, man.
I don't know about that. Well, let's get to the Super Copa match. I mean, I did a episode based on that, but I just want to get your opinion on where you kind of left off after that and what your thoughts were on that match. Real quick, real brief as we get into these other topics. I mean, it was pretty rough. I mean, yeah, Vinny and I went through that whole debacle, and it was frustrating. I just left it as what really upset me was the fact that Sarri couldn't figure it out playing the same opponent twice in 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
that was my biggest take from it and worried me the most. But what were your kind of thoughts, Eric?
The same, and if I repeat anything that's already been previously stated, I apologize. I didn't get an opportunity to watch the whole
No
podcast about
problem.
that specifically, but that was my thing. Was that to me we started with the HDR front, but it just seemed like tactically there was little to zero change in their approach to the game. I thought that at least after the first time playing a team like Lazio, a formation change, it would merit that because clearly we saw what would happen if you did not play with enough width. And so I think that was something that really bothered me. When I was like, even though we changed the attack a little bit, we're still going in with a huge disadvantage from a technical standpoint where we're just trying to force everything through the middle. And that didn't work the first time around. So if you're not making any changes the second time around, that does bother me. I thought he got his substitutes. I think he thought he got them right, but I think he got them incorrect. I think I would have started maybe swapping somebody else in attack before I would have brought in Quadrado. Like I would have just done something different to give you a little bit of at least a little bit of width on the pitch. So for someone to get dominated the same way the second game as he did the first game, you're talking about 180 minutes of just not playing well. I mean, 6 goals to 2.
Yeah.
It was tough to watch, but it's, to me, as someone who I don't like, sorry for any listeners who either know or don't know, I don't like Sarri to begin with. At least I thought this was a huge eye-opening game for him, where it's going to have to force his hand in something. So that's what I'm hoping happens, when he plays a team that's absorbs pressure and counters, plays in a 3-5-2 formation where you have a back 5, and then you just try to run through the middle. It's not going to work. So unless you have a really good through ball, which passing lanes get very, very crowded when that happens, or you can send it over the top, but we didn't have anybody that was capable of doing it that game. We couldn't get enough numbers forward, and then just not enough flank play. So I was just pretty disgusted, but obviously you guys had dedicated a podcast to that already.
Yeah, I was pretty upset too. I mean, I think it went from being frustrated at what I saw on the pitch and lack of adjustments from Sarri, and then I got really upset when, after the match, I saw a lot of discussion on treating the Supercopa meaningless, and that really bothered me because so many reasons. I mean, number one, do we really want to be those guys that play it off when we don't win it, but celebrate it hard when we do? I mean, no, every trophy, like winning trophies, like it's habit forming, especially for a team. And then like we get these youngsters in here and stuff, and it's like, let's get them in the habit of winning things. No trophy in my eyes is meaningless. It's just, if you're part of a team, like it's part of the journey, and that's the chemistry building. That's what you need. So your thoughts on people that were trying to play it off as meaningless and saying, "Oh, it's nothing. I don't care about this match." What were your thoughts on that?
I'm a very competitive person. I'm a former athlete, and I mean I share the same feeling towards that you do, especially given the situation that this team has been in since August, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, the not looking good. Questioning whether if we even are a good squad, just from critics and even fans. I thought ending this year with a trophy would have been a huge boost for us. Team morale and player morale, I think, would have been boosted by it. Obviously, with the way that things ended with Max's last season going into August, we needed some type of jewelry, and a second place medal just wasn't it for me. So I know that there were a few fans that made a little bit more out of the whole ceremony and some of our players taking the medal off. Ronaldo being like the main one that got targeted. But
why? Like, I have no problem with that.
I don't either.
Like, do you want to remember losing? Like, we lost that match. Like, to me, that's a bad memory.
Just lose the match, and I think that was the main issue. Is like it wasn't like a 2-1 game, a 3-2 game. I mean, we got embarrassed. So there was a lot more than just losing a match. It was like you got embarrassed on the pitch. He's not the type of person that's going to take that very well. So he's not used to not walking away with the trophy. And as a Juventus fan, neither am I. Especially that one. Like any trophy is very important. So yeah. I'm very upset that we couldn't end the year with one, but hopefully that is the kickstart that this team needs for January 6th and then through the next calendar year.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's get to Mario Mandzukic. So, like, after all this, he's not part of the project. He's not training with the club. We know he got a contract extension during last season, raise in pay. So, whether or not during the transfer window prior to the season starting, we could have closed out a deal with him and he refused based on the financials that he's getting from Juve, which are good. And I'd assume no team's going to match that realistically. No disrespect to him. Everyone knows my feelings on Mandzukic. But after all this, not getting a deal done, he doesn't train with the team, ends up leaving Turin. Just real ugly. We end up just essentially ripping the contract. And he goes and signs with, I'm not sure how to say the name, a team in Qatar, the same team Mehdi Benatia went to. And, just mind-blowing to me. We're going to, I don't even know where to start. It's just like, this guy has given you so much. And I can accept the fact that Sarri comes in and it's not one of his guys and he just doesn't see him as part of the project. Okay. But if you're going to get to a point where it comes to having a guy that's by many considered a club legend, okay? You're going to have this guy sit out, not even train with the team, essentially just be on his own while he's still in the same city anyways, only to wait this long into the season, halfway mark, to just rip up the contract anyways. Why not just do that and make everybody happy and like at the start? You know, like it just, to me, to get to this point and do it that way, to get nothing out of it anyways, why are we even doing that? Like, why not like just have a nice send-off for him like at the start of the season and just say, you know what, we've decided to part ways, make it a mutual, like just come up with something, just sort it out. But to like put the fans through this, put Mario through this, and granted Mario knows, you know, like he's not, there's two sides to every story, and I know he probably sitting on that cushy paycheck and stuff from that fat contract, and it is what it is. But this was just, to me, really, really stupid way for it to all go down. Eric, your thoughts?
This one's tough for me. I was a huge fan of Mario. His mentality alone was really what separated him from a lot of other individuals. His work rate, his work ethic, just like the player that he was. I mean, he gave blood, sweat, and tears every single game. He was the type of person that like you need on your team. He was the embodiment of what our badge stands for. And so I'm really, really upset about this. And obviously if they treated Marquisio the way that they did, I can't imagine that they would have done anything different for Mario. So this one was tough. I don't think money has anything to do with it. I think he truly wanted to play with Juve until he was done playing. What I don't understand is like when Sarri came in, it was like the moment he came, Mandzukic wasn't part of the plan. And I don't know how as a coach you can assess that. I don't know how you could just walk in and be like, yeah, he's not going to be part of this. And it actually only makes sense now for him to be a part of this, because if he's running with the trident of Ronaldo, Dybala, and Higuain, he has no strikers. Why not keep the only other striker you have on your bench, but you just let him go? So that like there's a lot of things that just make absolutely zero sense about this whole thing, let alone my emotions and my feelings towards Mario, like from a management position. So I'm trying not to think about it. Like it's very, very bothersome that these players, and I think the success of the club has a little bit of something to do with it, but it's almost like these players are just, they're a number on a jersey. They're just gray faces. Are they bringing in money? No. Get them out of here. Like, that's what this club has become, unfortunately. So it would be okay if they were matching that type of mentality with trophies and success, but they're doing neither. So you're not winning, and you're still sending off your legends. So it's like, what do you do?
Man, I don't know. It's tough to see them. I think the toughest thing about seeing them do this repeatedly is thinking back to 2006 all the time and those guys that stayed, you know? And if not that I anticipate it ever happening again, but if something were to happen like that, who stays and why would you? To be honest, like as a player, like what, like that bond just doesn't seem to be there anymore with the guys. And it's like, you know, you bring back Buffon who has it, Chiellini would have it, but other than that, like what makes these guys want to stay? You tried to push out Dybala, who's been one of our best this season, like so hard, and it backfired on you completely, and now he's having a hell of a run of form out there. But it's just like, yeah, why would a guy like that want to stay? You know, and it's just like the things we do, it just blows my mind. But yeah, like that bond between the club and its players just doesn't seem to be what it once was. And yeah, obviously, granted, that's going to just have the trickle-down effect, and it's affecting fans and a lot of the hardcore fans that have been around a long time. Like, you had to see us, you know, come from where we were to where we're at now. But at the cost of treating all these guys this way is pretty shitty to see. It's tough, man. It's really, really tough. And I've said the whole time, even while you understand it, there has to be a better way. It's not like anybody's saying you cannot let these guys go. It's just, for the love of God, like, have some grace about it, have some respect about it, right? Like, take into consideration, these are not guys that have joined us half a season through and played, for 6 months and taken off or whatever. Like, these are guys that put in some, like, hard years with us, and we're part of the winning streak we're on. And it blows me away, man. It blows me away. But Mandzukic, here's another thing that just, and the holiday season, we're getting up into the January transfer window, and the rumors start flying, and then you got this thing that happened with Mandzukic, and then sometimes I just can't help but feel that the media just does it on purpose, because then you hear these links with Olivier Giroud, and I just start laughing because I'm like, okay, that's not going to happen. It can't. And everybody's like, so you're going to get rid of Mandzukic, and then you're just going to bring in Giroud, another like 33-year-old or whatever, and Giroud does absolutely nothing. It's not going to happen. I think, if anything, maybe Juve's playing around, because I think Conte is actually trying to get him at Merida. But this is another thing too, because now you get Perrin, who we're sending back on loan to Genoa. I totally thought, like, what was the plan with bringing Perrin in? Sometimes you got to question Juve, because it's like, I thought, okay, he's going to be maybe competing for top spot with Szczesny. Because Szczesny wasn't even a lock at that point. It was that transition stage from Buffon. And it was like, okay, we could have a stellar competition on our hands. But they seem to just go with Szczesny, keep Perrin back there. But it almost felt like we did that move solely on blocking, I think it was Napoli at the time, and another rival club. And it's like, okay, so we did this literally just to block them. And now here we are. We can't even sell them anymore. And we're stuck loaning them back to who we bought them for. And we bought them for peanuts anyways. And the fact that we can't even like at least break even on that is crazy to me. It's mind blowing. And now we get into a move today for Kulusevski from Parma. And this has got people all over the place.
Yeah.
I think it finalized at around 35, and then plus bonuses works out to around the 45 mark. It could change once things get finalized, once we see the official final numbers, but somewhere in that 45 to 50 range is where it's going to be. Quite a bit, but at the same time, this kid, if you've watched Parma play this year, he's actually really impressive. And the thing with me, because I was challenged on it, and it was, what are your, do you actually think he's going to play for Juve? I'm not really sure. It could just be an investment purchase where we try to offload him, make some money on it. But I don't know. At that price, I kind of don't think so. He might not play for Juve. I don't think he's going to play this season. There's talks of, if Marco Piazza goes the other way to Parma, we could actually pull him in January. But I would be okay with that. He's an impressive kid. He's versatile, and he's literally effective at all the spots we actually need someone who's effective. He could play those multiple positions, but he does them very, very well. He's impressed every match of Parma's I've seen that he's been in there. I think he's played 17 games. He's been in on 11 goals between goals and assists. Really good numbers. Again, he's playing for Parma. Factor that in, right? I don't know, whether or not he plays for Juve, whatnot. Is this a blocking move for rivals? Well, Merida was the top candidate for him to go to, and the offer was actually the purchase offer was actually higher at 40. Ours was 35, with the bonuses come into that total, right? So we come in with a lesser offer. He takes ours. I don't know. Are we making moves that make sense? This one actually does make sense to me. Will he even play for Juve? I don't know. Are we making too many moves to block rivals? Like, I don't know. There's so many questions now on any move we make because you have no idea what Juve is going to do. But what's your initial gut reaction on this Kulusevski move?
It's kind of funny and ironic that like a move that actually makes sense is like sending all of us into chaos because we're like, okay, we're not used to this. What do you do? I think it's a smart move. I'm just trying to think about who we're going to be sending out to bring him in. Especially so that must mean maybe Rabiot leaves, Ramsey leaves. I think it's going to be one of them, potentially Costa because. Kulusevski's been on the wing a couple times in some of the games against Parma. And I like the fact that he's versatile. I think that helps us a lot. But there's a lot of other questions that should bring up. So if you bring in this very versatile player for $45 million, you better use him. But we have a coach who doesn't seem to be a very versatile coach. So it's like, what's the point of having a versatile player? So if you have a player that can play multiple positions in multiple formations, but you're only willing to stick to one, I don't know how he's going to help us with his versatility, not with his athleticism. So I like the idea. I think another issue is the fact that he's not outside of the Serie A, he's not a well-known player. So I think the new Juventus fans who are kind of like, they feel like they have to argue about our players because they feel like that's the cool thing to do. They're like, well, why are we spending $45 million on this guy that I don't even know? Why aren't we buying this world-class, high caliber player? We're not bringing Pogba back. I don't believe that's going to happen.
I don't think so.
So
that's the part that I find really funny is because when people talk about stuff on the pitch and they talk about who you play and creating this balance and it's not FIFA. To me, the bigger thing with FIFA is how everybody treats transfers. That, to me, I laugh at. That's FIFA. It's like they think we can just pull these guys out of here, whoever we want, and just make our ultimate team. That's not the way it works. And, purchases like this, I'm never going to be upset at us taking a gamble on a top prospect.
See, that's the thing is not only has he been playing great, but he's young, and that's the thing that we need is we need some youth. So
we need to start this reshaping of the squad. One thing I did inject some youth.
Out though is if you get a guy like that, him and Zaniolo are very, very similar players. So I'm wondering if they're going to pass on Zaniolo, let him go for 60, 70 million to somebody, or stay because I know he loves Roma, so he may end up staying. And maybe get a guy like Pellegrini, who would be great for us on the wing, potentially in the midfield if we need him to. Once again, that would make sense for us to get him, so I'm a little worried about that.
Lorenzo Pellegrini would be an unreal signing. And, honestly, the fact that we didn't go after him with that, laughable clause, it's so small for that kid. I would have jumped on that. I think it's only at 35 mil. This guy plays in the middle better than almost all the guys we have in there.
He would be the one probably to play the 10 role, or Kulusevski would. Either one of those two can. Yeah. So they would probably be the best two number 10s that we would have if we signed them both. Yeah. Now, but once again, that's barring Sarri stays. Personal opinion, people can disagree all they want. I don't think Sarri stays after this year. I just don't. I think there's going to be an influx of really high quality coaches at the end of the season. Poch is still available. I think Pep's done. I think he's just over being at Man City. I think he's there, and a lot of people think that. Why would you want Pep? Clearly, he's not that great. That's a completely different argument. We don't have enough time to talk about that.
Yeah.
So I just think that there's going to be a lot of available coaches. So I think we will probably go after one. So that's another thing, too, about these transfers is that they're going to want to know who they're going to play for. They're going to want to know what position they're in, stuff like that. So I don't know how that's going to play out yet.
Kulusevski, I could see him, like I said, I think eventually he will actually play for Juve. I don't know when. Pellegrini, I know Juve's still heavily linked with bringing in Chiesa, Zaniolo, and Tonali. Again, even Tonali would be a question mark whether he slots in immediately. I think Zaniolo plays. If we pick him up, I think that guy plays. Chiesa as well. I think he stays with the club and plays. Lorenzo Pellegrini, I would love for them to make that move. Roma's been talking about getting a contract renewed with him so that they can get rid of that clause, which I don't blame them.
Right.
Absolutely ridiculous clause. I think we should have pounced on that when we had the opportunity. But yeah, the money we spend on this kid, and it's so funny to me because you have, it's just, I don't know if it's emotions that fans are reacting to, because obviously the links with Vidal, or discussions have been had, or a phone call was made, and I said if it were for half a season, I would take that if he was available. I think and the only reason everybody gets on the age, I know all that. I know he would ask, it'd be quite a bit of money too, salary wise, but the thing is, what I ask myself all the time, does he improve our team? Yes, I think he does. His age, whatever, I've watched him play for Barca this season. He's literally turned games around. He doesn't start many for them, but even just coming off the bench, he's turned games around for them. Does he help us? Absolutely. And people talk about how we're stuck and, all these contract extensions and things we made. Okay, that's fine. But at the same time, do we prevent ourselves from improving the team because we made some errors in the past? No, you just deal with it. You find ways around it and start hopefully multiplying right moves. So what I'm getting at is, this season, honestly, you want to make some cash, I think Douglas Costa has to go. I said it last year. This offseason, going into the season earlier on in the podcast, I said I was pumped at how, he was playing and how he came out of the gate and he was showing up training early in Torino and whatnot. But the thing is, could he keep it up? That was the question. He can't. He can't keep it up. He's injury prone. And the thing is, even when he's in there, he's got some other issues. Sometimes his head's not in the right space. It's just, you don't get the Douglas Costa that we see the flashes of, and it's time that we stop chasing the flashes. That's the best way I could put it. Stop chasing the flashes or hanging on to them. So what I found funny with this whole Vidal thing is, it's just like an emotional thing where everybody's like, yeah, but then everybody was just hitting it off. He's too old. We need young guys. Like, I'm tired of us getting all these old guys. Here we make a move for Kulusevski, and everybody's, who is this guy? You don't know the name, and then they're just ragging on it. I'm like, is there no satisfying so many of you? Like, you can't have it both ways here. Like, now all of a sudden the fact that, you haven't watched Parma play and actually seen how impressive this kid is, is it going to hit? Who knows? Did we know Paulo Dybala was going to hit when we spent 40 mil on him? He was coming off one good season, and his numbers were pretty close to this kid's in as far as percentages, key passes, goals, assists to games ratios. They're pretty damn close. Did we know Paulo was going to hit? No. Have we missed on a lot of other prospects? Hell yeah, we've missed on a lot of trend. That's part of the game. This happens to all clubs. So I'll never get mad at us taking a shot on a prospect. These names that a lot of fans want to bring in, these bigger names, this is not, like, you gotta make room for those guys. You can't just have a roster full of these salaries, these weight, like, you gotta make the room. So honestly, we gotta start looking at the guys that need to go, and like, for me, like, Costa's gonna be one. I put Bernardeschi on a make or break season. Hell, I put Paulo Dybala on a make or break season going into this one. Because you know what? If it's not working for us one way or another, whether it's player, whether it was the coach, I said ultimately you just got to make a decision and move on. It really sucks, I thought Dybala we should not get rid of. I'm glad we kept him. But the way we went about it again, trying to force him out, was terrible. It was just terrible. But I find it funny with the fans and this contrast. And just like, what are your thoughts on this? Like, it's crazy to me.
I mean, I try to. I try to. I don't know if I accomplish it, but during these times, I turn it off. I can't do it. I can't deal. Like, I should never have to deal with the fans of the club putting me on this emotional roller coaster. Juventus does that to me enough. I don't need to let the fans do it. Not to mention, there's so many other players that are going to be linked to us that I'm not ready to deal with. Christian Eriksen being one. I know his name's going to pop back up. We're going to want him. I know Isco was one. I don't know what happened to that. I would have loved him, but apparently that died down because Zizi wanted him at Real Madrid. So I try to tend to steer from this aspect of this sport as much as possible because it's all hearsay. We have like 3 reliable sources, and then next thing I know, I'm running out of characters on my Twitter to try to defend a viewpoint on some stuff. So I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I get both arguments. I mean, it does seem like a lot of money for this kid, but at the same time, like, we don't dictate the market. I mean, it is what it is. You look at some of the numbers thrown around and the money that teams are spending on guys. That's just the way it's going. I think it's just heightened for us because we've been so poor at selling. And it's just like, I don't know, but I don't see this purchase that bad. I mean, we're balking at the money, but we should really take a look at how we've spent a lot of our money recently, and it's fine. Like, I'm okay with this move. We need a reshaping, and I think we're going to start looking at us going a lot younger as a club, which I think we can all agree we need to do. We have to do this. This kid, you look at this kid, and whether or not he even plays a game for you, none of us really know yet, but I mean, he is effective in all the spots we actually need. So, I just find it funny that we can complain that we need a guy that could play this, we need a guy that could play that, and then it's like we sign him, but nobody's happy because he's not a name you've heard of, and that's where I get this FIFA thing from, because it's just hilarious, because when you're doing that, nobody's going into FIFA looking for Kulishevsky, So,
right. I'm a little worried about that, though. Like, going into this, like, I'm worried that because they have such a versatile athlete coming in, that they're going to wear him thin. And I think one of the biggest problems that Juventus has now is that nobody does their job. Everybody's trying, too busy trying to cover from somebody else. Nobody does their one and only job. And I'm a big believer that into the whole, like the saying, jack of all trades but a master of none. And that's our problem, is we don't have anybody who's great at the position that they play in. We have athletes that are good at being able to play here, play here, play here. So for that particular reason, I don't want them to invest in this kid and go, okay, because you can play here and here, this is what we're going to do. No. Find where he plays the best and leave him there.
Yeah.
You have another gaping hole in another position, then bring in someone who can fill in that one position and just start playing these players true to what they are supposed to be playing. And I think that's the biggest issue I have with this club right now, is they're just trying to take, well, he can do that. Well, that's fantastic. But we need him to be the best at doing it. That's what brings in the championship. So I'm excited about him, but I'm worried about how they're going to use him, and I hope that they don't wear him too thin.
Whether or not he even ever gets to play for you, nobody really knows. It could be another move where we block the rivals out. It could be just an investment purchase. We don't really know. I think eventually at one point this kid will play. I'm hoping so, because I've enjoyed the few times I've seen him with Parma. I just remember him just standing out. And again, it's these top prospects that we need to start looking at. Like trying to get these guys when they're established is going to cost you double the money. So this is another thing we as fans have to realize. Like, shit, did any of us know Pogba? Were any of us like, oh man, we signed Paul Pogba when we brought him over on like an $800,000 purchase or something? No, he turned into that. So it's like we can't be scared to take these shots. That was a huge, huge gain for us. And now all of a sudden it's like, he's developed and everybody's like, okay, let's get him back. Well, look at how much it's going to cost you now. You got to look for these guys and you got to take those shots here and there. As far as the guns, the guys that are established, it's not just your pick of the litter. I mean, it's big, big money. Guys have to go when you're making those types of transactions. And it's tough. Like, now we get into this kid, Erling Braut Haaland there, who ended up going to Dortmund. And that was another one where Juve fans were in uproar, and it was like, good, we don't need him. We don't need but at the same time, that is not a lot of money for the potential that this kid holds. And the goals he's already scoring, and so many, in Champions League too, like, man, I don't know, like, to me, just say no, like, don't make that move. At 50 mil, whatever, I was all over it. I was like, let's do it. Because that's just smart purchasing. And that's what it comes back down to for me. It's just like, granted, we need a certain area, but a move like that, you just can't, to me, justify being upset about. And now he's gone to Dortmund, and that's fine. It's not the end of the world. I would have loved to have him join us. It's not the end of the world. But then we get news that Matuidi's probably going to sign an extension till 2024, and then I just throw my hands up like, what the hell? So talk about your feelings on Haaland there that ended up signing to Dortmund. Were you against it? Were you with it? What were your feelings towards it?
And I was a little on the fence with it because I'm a little weary when I'm trying to base the productivity solely on numbers and statistics. Now, and granted, that's what you use to gauge those things. I understand that, but Bundesliga hasn't been great for defense this past year. So like him being, him racking up goals to me was like, okay, that's cool, but what is he going to do in Serie A? Not only that, then I was like, where are we going to use him? Once again, like we're getting these people, and it's just like we have a coach that's just not going to be very open-minded to making a lot of changes. So where is he going to fit? So we're going to pay $50 million and he's going to sit on our bench? Well, that didn't seem, like a smart investment either. So a part of me was kind of like, yeah, he provides pace. He's getting goals. He's young. He's got a lot of potential. However, I don't like to pay for potential. I like to pay for the reality of it. Reality of it was he was scoring goals, which is great. But with Maurizio Sarri's mentality, you tell me where he's going to play or when. So to me, it did not make sense for us to sign him. I liked the signing in the summer. I would have liked to get him in June. I would have been perfectly fine with it. The midfield makes a lot more sense right now than to get him. But you know what? I also think that from his standpoint, like being at Dortmund was probably a lot more comfortable for him. It's not a foreign country. He plays against, or he's going to be playing with players that he's played against, so he probably knows them very well. And he fits the system, which I've already made a post. Like, I feel like Jadon Sancho's leaving, so they're just going to plug him right where Jadon Sancho was playing. So for him, it's like it's an immediate start. Communication's not an issue. He already knows the league. So it seemed a lot more of a more intelligent move for him to stay in Germany than for him to pick us.
Yeah, I mean, there was reports there was quite a few meetings between them, Juve and Haaland, but I'm sure it ultimately came down to playing time. But then again, that's just like, that's another issue. To me, God, when you break it down, we are very, very slow up top. Very, very slow. This kid, like, taking the numbers aside and just watching him play. Even Chiesa, when people are down on Chiesa because statistically, his numbers have been off other than that one season, they're just like, oh yeah, you have one good season. Well, it's like, I don't know, man, because when you watch him play, it's just that drive. It's the pace. It's the drive. It's like the rest of it I think is going to come together. Again, playing at Fiorentina is probably not going to help him anymore because he's got all the right tools. Now I think it's just getting the right people around him. Getting someone that with some stability in the managerial spot that can actually take him to that next level. And it might be training with champions, guys that have won a lot that could say, hey, like, this is what you need to do. The other thing is Mancini's been picking him steady for the Azzurri. And honestly, like, I love the way the kid plays. I literally think once he just sorts that last little bit out there where he stops taking these bad angle shots, I think he'll really like just go nuts, really. But I see the same thing with Atlanta. I just see this kid that's got so much drive, so much pace. It's just tough to handle on defenders. And I look at our squad and I just go, you don't really have anybody like that. And would he help us? I think he would. So if we start again shying away from moves because of our coach, that scares me. That's worrying. Or the fact that playing time because number one, Higuain, and bless his heart, he's got a lot of fans that love him, and I have no issues with him. I think he's been doing a good job this season. But again, that's a big, big amount of money we spent on him, and I don't know, we're handcuffed now. He's one of those guys that handcuffs us. And Ronaldo, as long as he's with Juve, is a lock at that spot because he's just making too much. And the uproar that it causes, for God's sakes, even when Sarri just wants to sub him, is just too much to handle. So you're probably not going to see that. I'd be shocked if we see it again this season, him actually get subbed. And it sucks. It sucks that, we're kind of allowing these things to make decisions for us, that maybe we need to push a little harder and go for. But Haaland was up in the air. I see all angles of everything, obviously. I understand them. I felt it would have been good for us. Kulishevsky, again, I see all angles. I think I like the move. I like the pickup. Getting to Matuidi and this possible contract extension. It's been reported from earlier in the year, they were going to extend Matuidi, Cuadrado, Bernardeschi, and Wojciech Szczesny. We know Bonucci got an extension this year, which I'm fine with. Szczesny, I think that's great. Lock him up. They did put out, it did say that should an offer come through in the summer, we'd evaluate it. So there's room there. There's also, oh God, it's Christmas break and whatnot, but Ter Stegen, I guess, rumors with Juve, whatever. But I'm happy with Szczesny. I think Szczesny's done a great job. I have no problems there. You can lock that contract up for me. I'm fine with it. Bonucci's, I was fine with. Cuadrado, I thought, let's hold off. Matuidi, there is no need to extend Matuidi. His contract, I believe, ends in 2021 or 2022.
22, I think.
There's no need to take him to 2024. What are we doing here? Why? And there's obviously going to be a pay hike in there. And these are the things fans should be getting pissed about because this is just crazy. We know the role he plays and whatnot, but we need to go in a different direction. It is what it is. I mean, his contract, by the time it's over, is going to take him to, the age of 34? 33, 34? That's it. That's it. There's freaks like Ronaldo who can still perform. And this year actually had a hell of a slump in there.
Yeah,
so
pretty.
let that go. Just let it go. There's no need to do that.
Answer this for me, because in other sports, I'm a big NFL guy. When they give extensions, or sometimes they restructure the contract, they do so without any addition of money. So answer this for me: is if he's getting, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, $5 million until 2022, that's his base pay is. If they extend his contract to 2024, then that $5 million gets stretched to that year, which means he's not taking so much of a hit on their capital for other purchases. So I don't know if it works differently. Like, these are the small, minute things that I don't really get into in this sport, because it's the financial stuff that, and it doesn't affect me at all. But if that's the case, like if you're extending his contract so that the money that you're paying him
to
now,
spread it out, yeah,
to spread it out so that you can basically cut costs, go for it. Like if that's what they're doing, by all means, do it. Now, I don't know if they're doing it, because I know sometimes what happens right before they sell players, they give them contract extensions. It raises their value. Then they get a higher number when people want to buy them. So I know the contract extensions can become kind of a chess game between clubs if they're interested in purchasing a player. That's another reason why they get contract extensions. But I think in this particular case, if it's to minimize the damage that player is creating on your profit or on your finances, it makes sense to me to do it. It just happens to be that it's Blaise Matuidi and Cuadrado. So
the thing is that historically, that's not the case. They've been handing out extensions. They've been given pay hikes. So it's like Khedira got bumped. Mandzukic got bumped. All these guys got bumped. And Bonucci's I'd have to see, because I think he's at 5.5 right now, and I don't know if he was below that before the extension. But that's the thing. It's kind of a different system than the whole cap thing in the NFL, right? But yeah, if that were the case, again, that would make sense. But to hand out the extensions and just give pay hikes and then get stuck with these guys is just crazy. It's asinine to me, and I'm not sure why we continue. Like, I mean, that's a contract that we should probably just seeing out to the end, or try to get a deal, try to get a sale to a club that would take him next season. You still got time. It blows me away, all these little moves and whatnot. It's hard to make sense of Juve, and it's funny because I saw a post and there's some fans just going back and forth on Juve in general. It's just like, who knows what to think anymore? Anytime they make a move, anytime there's a link to a player, like, you have zero idea anymore. You talked about the three really main reliable sources we have, but still, it's just like, what the hell are we even doing sometimes? But to get upset or worked up about prospects, I personally would never. I get more worked up at things like these, when it's guys we need to just finally cut the cord and we can't.
Right.
These are the moves that really bug me. We just lock this money up that could easily go to somebody better, or more suited to our team or style that we're trying to achieve, or identity that we're going after. But instead we lock it up. It's already locked up to 2022. Now we're going to lock it up to 2024. For what? Why? And at that age, like, it blows my mind, because we're seeing it over and over and over and over. It's like Higuaín, Mandzukic, Khedira, all within one season. But we're still going to throw out this extension after just seeing what has happened to us. To the point, Again, going back to Dybala, where we wanted to push him out the door. And we still don't look at this and say, holy, we need to change this up. Like, we can't keep dishing out these extensions.
So real quick though, my question to you is the money the problem, or is it the contract extension with the player? Because I think they're about to get a stupid amount of money and stupid amount of pay increase from Jeep. I know that I know they just got a huge increase in funds from that sponsorship. So I guess my question to you or any fan listening would be, is it the fact that we are re-signing Matuidi to 2024 that we have an issue with, or is it that we're wrapping money into him, even though that money's probably going to be chump change the amount of money that we're about to get?
Yeah, it's still though. It's all part of the same bucket. But yeah, it's the money. It's tying him up to just like, and I get it. I get that these extensions, if a sale comes along, you could still move them. You could still make the sale or whatnot. But it's the whole precedence that it sets that I just have a real problem with. It's just like we are almost, for a team that wants to achieve what we want, to continue to reward mediocrity to me is crazy. That's the whole thing I see. It's just oh my God, you could and I get it. I get it that I've talked about it a lot. I understand Matuidi's roles. I know what he does. But overall, we could get that with somebody that's still highly skilled offensively. So, no complete disrespect to Matuidi or whatnot, but I mean, ultimately, we are still technically in making these moves rewarding mediocrity. It doesn't need to happen. This guy does not, in my mind, deserve an extension to 2024 when he's already signed on to this. What are we saying to other players on our team? What are we saying, that you can just be all right and
Right.
Don't worry, we'll lock you up and we'll take care of you, whatever. So, no, this ties in, for me, the way I look at things. It ties into lack of competition for starting spots. It's all just kind of that carousel where it just feeds off each other, right? And there's this domino effect in all these things that people might want to just turn their head to and just be like, oh, that's not a big deal when Ronaldo left the stadium or whatnot. Okay, but he comes back and the team doesn't really punish him because he's making $30 million a year. He's Ronaldo, and how much he's brought in financially. What precedent does that set for the other guys that are on the bench that wouldn't be treated the same? And then you got your guys busting your ass off. Matuidi's going to get a contract extension. Paulo Dybala's busted his ass. He played out of position, criminally out of position. After a stellar season at second striker with Gonzalo. And, yeah, criminally out of position. Box-to-box midfielder out of position. And we try to push. He doesn't say a word. He knows it. Everybody watching us play knows it. Why is he doing this? Why are we playing him that way? People that don't even follow Juve knew it, and we're laughing. Literally laughing, what's up with the ball? What are you guys doing? And we're going to push him out. Try so hard to push him out. It's just, what are we really doing overall? I look at the whole grand scheme of things. It's just, I'm having a tough time making sense of Juve and their management right now and where we're going. Okay? De Ligt, loved it. Loved the move. Huge, huge move. Rabiot and Ramsey on freeze. Hindsight's 2020, and a lot of the people that are complaining about it, you can't tell me in the summer when we picked them up on freeze, you didn't instantly think it was going to help our club. And it should. And Ramsey's on the up now. Now he's getting consistent minutes. And I think that will continue. But those are good moves. But overall, these other things, these extensions, I don't get it, man. I really, really don't. financially, like, is it the finan? I don't know. What are your thoughts on the extensions? Do you think it's
Well,
just
that one in particular probably leads me to believe that Rabiot's leaving after the season. He's already been linked with a move to Arsenal. So I think, and just on a side note, he's played not great, but I don't think he's played poorly for the time that he has been on the pitch for us. So I know a lot of people or a lot of fans who are watching him, they criticize him a lot, and I'm just like, you got hardly any film really
yeah,
to talk about. I think for the minimal amount of time that he's been in there, he's been a huge spark for us. So. But I just think that I think after the season he's gone. I think they come in there, they get these free trains. I also think that Ramsey and Costa are gone. Those are like my big three people that I think are going to be gone after the season. So Matuidi makes sense because Matuidi's going to lock down that left mid spot unless Kolashevsky plays there. But, Juventus does a weird thing with incoming players where they really try to ease them. I thought it was a managerial thing. I think it's a Juventus thing, where they kind of just ease him into those roles to take over. So the Matuidi one makes sense because I think there will be a departure with Rabiot. So what doesn't make sense is that you're willing to keep Matuidi instead of exploring other options, trying to get Sensi, trying to get Barella, trying to get some of these other guys that you could probably take away from other clubs that are doing very well. Milinkovic-Savic. Try to go after him again. He'd be great there. So I guess just in general, it makes sense because I think there's going to be a vacant spot, so you want to at least lock somebody down there. But when you're looking at the technicalities of who it is and how long, and when your other options are X, Y, Z, I don't know why they're not trying to go for X, Y, Z.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing, right? I just think ultimately it comes down to just being smart with your money and stop handcuffing ourselves with moves. Like, these extensions play into the fact of why we're so poor at selling. Like, it's all just one big carousel, and like, guys, that we got to start thinking about this too. Is like, why do we have such a problem selling? Well, number one, we need to do a better job of the guys we bring in. Because, like, we're bringing in guys and then all of a sudden, like, they get 0 minutes or we have no use for them. Why are they being brought in? And then every team knows your situation. So you're trying to move a guy that everybody's like, well, he hasn't even played, like, 30 minutes for you. Like, desperation. Like, we just reek of desperation when it comes time to sell. And no wonder you're shit at it when you're desperate. Like, it's just not going to happen. So we just got to really hone it in here. And you got fans all over the place too, with just the teams only making moves based on financials. Has nothing to do with the team on the pitch anymore and stuff like that. And I really just am scared to really dive into that one and really take a look broader at that, because I would hate for that to be true. As a fan, like, honestly, like, that's a pretty bleak outlook, and I would hate for that to be the case and actually say, that I can't
say that I believe that, because what you put on the pitch is going to determine the outcome of some of those things. So there has to be some effort.
Well, that's just it. If you want to, and we've talked about that before. If you want to make your finances, and you want to make all this money, I mean, ultimately, the shirt sales are there, the merchandise, all this stuff, that's fine. But ultimately, you're drawing in more attention. But if your product, which it will always come down to what's on the pitch, is trash, how far are you going to go? How good is this exposure going to be? So even if some of us feel that they're starting to make moves and decisions with the finances on their minds. I mean, ultimately, the game has kind of created that. Just the way it's moved, it's created that. If you want to be in the mix with the top dogs and the giants there, you have to think that way. That's what's going to come down to. But you're never going to get away from that. They're always going to have that on their mind. But ultimately, it's going to come down to what's on the pitch too, because what good is even having Ronaldo here? What good is that if what we put on the pitch is just trash? And honestly, I think if you look at it and break it down, that is what led them to get rid of Allegri. It's just they know, hey, we've got this how many millions of new followers that we've just gathered and teams watching us, and then we get embarrassed by Ajax, a group of kids. You know what I mean? We can't have this. So I think they're trying to balance out everything, and right now we're just in this transition. But I think the Kulusevski, looking at Haaland, I like that because to me it's saying that we're going to be in that shift where we start getting the youth in. Being linked with Tonali, Pellegrini, Zaniolo, like that's good. To me, I like that. I like that shift towards the youth.
The only thing that bothers me, like, the most about stuff like that is that we aren't the club that is developing the talents. And I think player development is a huge issue with Juventus right now, especially in midfield, something that we haven't had in a long time. So the only thing that bothers me is, like, why does Juventus have to keep outsourcing their talent? Like, you should be able to bring people in, develop them, and train them properly. Small clubs like Brescia shouldn't be a midfielder playing there shouldn't be your top target, but for some reason it is. So I feel like the player development in some other clubs are another reason why we haven't been able to get over the hump. And how that works, I don't know as far as like the coaching considered. I don't know how that
is. That a product of the success of this run that we're on, that they're afraid to give the young guys the opportunities they need? Like, we've seen that for a long time with Juve, and they just like their seasoned vets, and that's the way they go through. And like, you'll get but really throughout this run, like, you really see it where it's like few and far between you'll get these young guys that'll get opportunities. Allegri was pretty slow going. Like, try to think back during Allegri's tenure, and like young guys that were getting in there is pretty scarce. Conte did pretty good for that. I'll give him that. Granted, you could argue the depth that was there, but honestly, Allegri had the same. He kind of took over the same club. He got a couple new guys there, but I don't know. It is something that Juve's kind of been notorious for, and just wanting those seasoned guys. And I don't know if it's just keeping the streak going, or if they feel that that's gonna be the difference of them winning trophies or not. I don't know, but I do look at a lot of other clubs, and they're giving these young guys the opportunity. And it's funny because I talked about it. I can't remember which podcast exactly, but I said I question. It might have been the last one for Vinny after the Supercopa, and I said I question our team's hunger and our team's drive, and wondering if we have too much of that core that's won so much, where they've become numb, and just lost that desire almost. And these young guys, like we talked about it when you watch them play, you see that all over them. What they want to do, they just want to dominate. They want to come out there. They want to like make their impression felt and stuff. And it's just, we need a good solid injection of that in this club. Right now, we just are so stale to me, and we need to get guys that are hungry, that haven't won, that want to win, that can help the guys that have already won get that desire back.
Yeah.
Right? It's just something I picked up on, and I kind of think you're touching on it the same way. And what you're saying with us not developing the young talent, maybe just not getting them enough opportunities and keeping these proven winners. But man, when you win a lot like that, look at that Supercopa match. Not a lot of reactions like Cristiano's, you know, to be honest. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see a guy rip off that second place medal, have some tears in his eyes, and get pissed off. You know, I don't want to hear this meaningless trophy shit, but
I think they had a video, an extended video of when he had got the medal put on him, and then he had immediately taken it off. And there was like 3 or 4 players right behind him that was like just followed suit, just took it right off. Nobody said a peep about those guys, but I don't want to see that from a professionalism standpoint. Like, you have to be professional, you have to accept the consequence. This is the hat that you have to wear right now. You didn't play well, you shit the bed, own it. You know, but I like the mentality. Like, I don't want second place.
Yeah.
I win. So to me, that there's a trickle down the line, which it's good to see, because I do agree with that. You know, you have a target on your back for 8 years. Teams have been wanting to beat you, not just for the Supercopa, but just in general. You've been the giants of your country for 8 years. You have a ginormous target on your back. And teams, if they don't win any other game, but they beat you, that is success to them.
Oh, yeah.
So it's very hard for you to be in that position and match the same level of intensity that they're going to play with. So getting our ass whooped twice by the same one team is probably exactly what we needed. Not to say that we're going to turn around and win the rest of 2020 undefeated or anything like that, but I think that was kind of a wake-up call. So I agree with that like, you become just numb to this, well, we're 2 goals down, so, but I'm sure we'll figure out a way to get these 2 goals back. I think that's kind of the philosophy. Is like, we'll figure it out, we'll break them down, and they just never did. But
yeah, it's frustrating. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're touching on some of the feelings that a lot of us fans are starting to get, and it's starting to get that way. We'll see what happens. Calgary's going to be a tough match.
I was going to ask you, how do you line up against them? I mean, we started training again today. The last formation, I think, probably put a bad taste in Sarri's mouth, even though it shouldn't have, because I think he was the reason why we lost that match. But how do you line up against them?
Honestly, man, I think it's time that we just do. It's funny because it's just the same thing for me right across the board. Management, transactions, selling, buying, coaching, lineups. I think we just need to start making sense and keeping things simple. For me, like at the back, let's get Delict back in there. Okay, with Bonucci. Coming off the break, Szczesny in goal. Sandro on the left, Quadrado on the right. In the middle, I want Rabiot to play the holding role if we're going to stay with one holder. It's going to be between him and Bentancur. I'm fine with either. I want Pjanic to slide. If we continue to push with 2 Metsalas and we want them to get offensively, I want Pjanic to be on one side of it. And then the other could be Bentancur or Rabiot, whichever. I think our middle, I want to see Bentancur, Pjanic.
It's just those 3.
Yeah.
I totally agree that those are your 3 that it should absolutely consist of.
I want to see those 3. I'd be happy. I just don't want to see Pjanic as the holder anymore, and I think he does better if we want to push for those 2. If we want to go with 2 defensive mids and kind of change that triangle and flip it around, so we have 2 defensive mids and 1 central mid pushing forward, same thing. Put Rabiot and Bentancur back there and put Pjanic at the top of that triangle, and we push forward with him. As and up front, I go back to HDR off the break, and I just say, let's start doing what makes sense. Let's start doing things right. Let's get Sandro and Quadrado supporting the forwards and hold that width and keep teams spread out. And we allow it. We just make it so easy for them. It's like they just funnel us to that one top spot, the top of the box, and we make it so easy for them. They need to get up there and support. Having 2 defensive mids would give them the freedom to do that, either Rabiot or Bentancur. I honestly would make that switch. It would almost turn our formation into a 4-2-3-1, really, but it's something I would do and something I would try, and I think, honestly, when you look at the guys and how they've been playing, it just makes sense. It makes sense to me to do something like that. And then you keep your guys like Costa, Bernardeschi coming off the bench against tired legs, which is honestly how they probably should be getting used. That's kind of what I would do. What would you do?
Probably something very similar. I will say this, though, is the last 2 games, Sarri has taken Higuain off, and he has put Aaron Ramsey on. And I had made a point a couple podcasts ago that I think you have to be meticulous with your substitutes. You can't just take a player that you think, well, you could just put here. So basically what ended up happening was Dybala moved forward, and Aaron Ramsey was in the number 10 role. And just the chemistry between Ronaldo, Dybala, and Aaron Ramsey just isn't there because I think the lack of playing time. And then the formation is really weird because then what happens is that he'll sub Paulo Dybala for Douglas Costa. I think he did that twice, 2 games in a row. And then you have this really weird Aaron Ramsey wants to make runs forward. Douglas Costa doesn't really sit in that one side, so he's kind of all over the place. It was just a really weird formation when they came in, and I think they have to switch to like a 4-3-3, but they don't communicate well enough to do that. So just going back to your point about getting guys off the bench, I think it's still very imperative that when you take somebody off, that you have to put somebody on who can be fluid in any one of those 3 positions. So you can't take Aaron Ramsey, put him at the 10, and then make him a winger all of a sudden, because I don't think Aaron Ramsey's great at being a winger, and I think that's kind of what happened. But what I want, clearly not going to happen, but what I think is going to happen is that you're going to have Rabiot, Matuidi, and Bentancur as the holding. I don't see him wanting to change that part of the formation. I do think he goes back to HDR. I think they're on a very, very short leash, though. Like, if they don't go out there and start putting some goals in, 1-2 goals a half, he's going to probably pull one of them and put Ramsey in the 10. He's going to put Werner back in the 10. I would like to actually see Costa start there. But I would prefer Bentancur as the holding midfielder with Pjanic and Rabiot as the Mezzalas. That would be mine, but I think those 3 need to be in midfield at some point. Let me know here, is the yellow card's been forgiven? I thought one of them was going to be suspended for the match.
I'll take a quick check here to see. Let's take a quick.
For some reason, I feel like
Bentancur will be suspended.
He's suspended 3 games, I think.
Yeah, you know what? I totally forgot about that suspension, so that throws my lineup out the window. But
so that means Matuidi and Rabiot.
Yeah, I would just swap them 2 and just I'd still put Rabiot as the holder, though, and get Pjanic out to one of the sides. Honestly, I'd even play... I don't think it's going to make a difference because I think he's going to take off, but I would even play Emre Can against Cagliari in there. The physical presence. I totally forgot about Bentancur's suspension. Yeah.
It's actually 3 games, I think.
Yeah.
For what happened for his send-off in the Coppa Italia.
Yeah, the Super
That's
Coppa
something
there.
to say, so, yeah.
But
that's Coppa.
Well, we'll see what happens against Cagliari here. I'm not even going to make a prediction because I just want to see our response after that defeat. Holiday, little break there. I don't know. I hope we have the fire and come out and actually make a statement. Because Cagliari's not going to be a cakewalk. It'll be a tough match. Well, we're going into New Year's Eve, my friend. Starting the new decade, and thought just for fun, we'd put together a little team of the decade for Juve. We're going to start off in net. Is there really any question? It's got to be Gigi that we go in net.
Absolutely. He would be not even team of the decade. Team
yeah.
Forever. Put him in goal.
Center backs. We'll do this as a 4-3-3 formation. So 2 center backs. For me, it's going to be Chiellini and Barzagli. I'm going to go.
I mean, him and Barzali in his prime was probably better than Chiellini. I don't doubt that at all. But in that particular case, I would put Bonucci in there because of what he's capable of doing with the ball. Like he's one of the best passers in all of world football. So
It's all good, man. It's all good. If we did a 3-5-2, all 3 of them would be in there. It was
yeah,
the BBC. Right back. Lichtsteiner for me.
it has to be. Even though I wish that he was a little bit more of a Danny Alves type of talent, but I would have to put Lichtsteiner back there.
Left back, Sandro.
Agreed.
3 midfielders.
This should be the easiest. It's going to be, I'm making Pirlo my holding midfielder. I'm putting Vidal and Pogba in there.
I'm going to, just my heart, I'm going to go Marquisio, Pirlo, Pogba.
Okay, so we're doing this out of emotion, not logic. Okay.
We're doing it out of however we want to, but I'm doing it with my heart on that one.
Okay.
Up front, your front 3. Front 3 forwards of the decade.
I'm not putting Cristiano in there.
I'm not putting him in either. And this is probably going to have
both.
problems, but it's team of the decade. But here's one that might spark things for team of the decade because I'm going to throw him in there. Part heart, but part because he literally started the run and was with Gigi digging us out. But Del Piero makes it there. I know he retired. I know what year he retired in. Okay, I get he's not part of a lot of the years in the decade, but I'm sorry. Hoisted that first one that started this whole thing for us. He's in there for me. For me, I don't have Ronaldo in there, and then I get Tevez, Higuain, and Dybala for the next 2 spots for me. And oh man, honestly, I'd probably go.
I put Trezeguet in over for Higuain.
Trez. Oh man, of the decade. Oh man.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, see, that's tough because there's some honorable mentions up there at the front 3 as well. So
yeah, oh man, for me, it's between those guys for 2 spots.
You know, Mario deserves something as well. Mario deserves to be there because what he's done.
You could put Mario in your front 3 for sure, man.
I mean, I might put Tevez at right wing, Mario in the middle, and like Del Piero at the left, just because I want to be able to put all 3 of them in there somehow, some way, and I don't know what formation would be the best one.
Yeah, because I had to think back to Trez and when he left Juve. I don't even know if did he play for us in this last decade.
Let me see.
I thought he left in 2010.
He may have.
But for me, Del Piero takes a spot. I gotta go between Dybala, Higuain, and Tevez. I'm gonna put Tevez in there.
Yeah, Trezeguet had just left, so you're right.
Del Piero. No, I'm gonna go Del Piero, Higuain, Dybala. Those are my 3. God damn it! I don't know. I'm gonna take Higuain out and put Tevez in. Del Piero, Tevez, Dybala for me. That's it.
See, okay, so if I'm gonna have to stick to a front, I'm changing it. Fuck it, I'm changing. I'm gonna put Del Piero, Mandzukic, and Tevez in there. Okay. That would be my 3.
Okay, that's sweet.
That's final. Stamp it. Okay. Seal it.
So this decade's been filled with a lot of crazy highs and some crazy lows. Let's just go with, your probably top moment of the decade where you absolutely, like, it could be you absolutely lost it or you were your happiest with Juve, like just your top moment of the decade? Or one moment that just stands out to you like so far above the others. It doesn't even have to be like a huge moment, just something out of this decade that stuck to you for whatever reason.
It's stuck to me because it's the most recent. But when we went up 3-0 in Madrid, right before that red card, like, we did the impossible. Now, I'm not talking about coming back and hoisting. I'm talking about doing something that nobody would have ever thought we could do. And right before that red card, that fucking red card, there was such a belief that we could do this. And, like, I was probably at one of my all-time highs, like, ever in any sport. I mean, the game against Barcelona in, was it 2016?
Yeah.
3-0 at home. I mean, that was just, you're not supposed to do these things. We're not supposed to go to the Bernabeu and put up 3 goals and then have none. So that would be one of the highest points in my, not for me too, that also for Allegri, because he was such a tactician that you just like, oh, he's going against, I think in that game or in that squad that Zizi had, 8 out of his starting 11 were like the number 1 players in that one position. I mean, he had a squad. So that would be at the worst one, Cardiff, like, yeah. Or 2015 against Barcelona. Those would be my top 2.
Yeah, somebody posted that tackle in the box on Pogba, and I was just like bringing back so many bad memories. Just me losing my mind. How that wasn't called blows me away still. But no, I was gonna say for the highs, definitely it'd have to be. Honestly, like, it's got to be that Barca game's in there for sure. Even the Real Madrid, it sucks that red card and that how it went down. But yeah, that high was incredible while we were doing that and just taking them to school in their own house. Like, that was unreal. And even Atletico, the comeback at home was just huge. That feeling, like, man, I can't get over it. It was incredible. And then Del Piero hoisting that first one that started this whole run, that season, really, just that whole season filled with incredible moments. To even do that, we were huge underdogs the whole year. You look at that roster and what we did, it was crazy, unreal to watch. But watching him do that in his final year with us was pretty stellar. So that was up there for sure. A lot of good ones, but those are the ones that kind of stick out most. Seeing him hoist that trophy was unreal. But yeah, man, that's we'll wrap up this one. Again, always a pleasure having you on.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah. And everybody, we'll talk after the match against Cagliari. As always, Forza Juve, Fino alla fine. Ciao.
Ciao.